fangs and wings, and eternal night. She was born a human girl in the high Carpathian valleys, in a village so small it barely appeared on any map. Her name then was not Marishka, but a softer name spoken in daylight, a name tied to a mother who sang folk songs, and a father who trapped wolves for coin. From childhood she was restless, sharp-eyed, and proud, a girl who disliked the narrow fate offered to village daughters. She learned early how easily men watched her, how beauty could open doors and bend tempers, and she used it first for survival, then for pleasure. When plague came through the valleys, it took her family in a single winter. Alone and still young, she drifted toward the trade routes, and then toward the courts, becoming a lady in waiting, then a courtesan, then a kept woman to minor nobles who passed her along like a jewel. She learned languages, learned lies, learned how to hide fear behind laughter. It was during one such winter in a Transylvanian castle that she first heard whispers of the Count, a warlord who never aged, who paid in gold older than empires, who collected rare women the way others collected relics. Dracula first saw her at a masked feast held after a battle. She was dancing with a Hungarian officer, or already planning how to escape him, when she felt the air change and looked up into eyes darker than the hall's shadows. He did not speak to her that night. He only watched. Days later she found an invitation on her pillow, sealed with black wax, summoning her to the mountain fortress. She went because she was curious, and because something in her already longed for danger. In the castle, he spoke to her not as a lord to a servant, but as a king to a queen he had been waiting for. He told her stories of lost empires, of wars before history, of loneliness deeper than death. He did not take her that first night. He let her walk the halls, let her feel the echo of eternity pressing against her skin. By the third night she begged him never to let her go. When he finally fed on her, it was slow and ceremonial, not violent but intimate, a claiming disguised as love. Her death as a human came quietly, in silk sheets, her last breath leaving her lips as his blood filled her veins. When she rose again, the world burned with new color and hunger, and her human name was forgotten. He called her Marishka. As a bride, she was the wildest of them. Valera was cruel and calculating, Verona playful and vain, but Marishka was fire. She loved to hunt, loved the moment when terror bloomed in a mortal's eyes and turned to fascination. She favored soldiers and travelers, men who thought themselves strong. She lured them with laughter and warmth, drank deeply, and often let them live just long enough to remember her face in their nightmares. Her lovers were countless, though none lasted. Some she trained dry in one night, some she kept for weeks, feeding slowly, twisting affection into obsession before discarding them. Once, for amusement, she turned a young noblewoman who had followed her in secret, then destroyed her a month later when the girl begged loudly for affection. Dracula allowed these cruelties, amused by her passion, though he never truly loved her as he had loved his first wife. Marishka knew this and hid the jealousy behind mocking smiles. For centuries she traveled with the brides, haunting cities as they rose and fell. In Istanbul she seduced a poet and drank him beneath the minarets. In Prague she emptied an entire boarding house in a single winter, leaving pale corpses stacked like firewood. In Vienna she fell briefly in love with a violinist, spared him longer than usual, and wept when she finally tore out his throat. Furious gracious with herself for the weakness. When Dracula vanished into imprisonment, the brides were left waiting, half mad with hunger and longing. Marishka became more reckless, feeding openly, drawing hunters and priests to their lairs, forcing Hilaire to clean her messes. She dreamed constantly of the Count's return, imagining herself restored to favor, imagining that at last she might become more than a toy. When he was finally freed, and the old war against the Valerius line resumed, Marishka followed him with renewed devotion. She fought in the shadows, slaughtering villagers who sheltered the enemy, draining messengers, tearing apart monks who tried to bless the roads. Yet she sensed that the world was changing, that the age of hiding in legends was ending. Her death came not in a lover's bed, but in a storm of fire and steel. On the night when Dracula's fortress burned and the battle reached its peak, Marishka descended from the towers in her bat form, hunting the human named Carl, who fled through the corridors with holy weapons in his hands. She toyed with him, whispering promises, laughing as he stumbled in fear. But arrogance betrayed her. In the chaos she failed to see the crossbow raised, failed to sense the consecrated bow until it tore through her chest. She fell screaming, half transformed, wings collapsing into shredded flesh. For a moment she tried to crawl, hissing curses, reaching for the shadows where Dracula might save her. But sunlight broke through the shattered roof, touched her skin, and she burned. Her last sound was not a curse, but a cry of rage and longing, calling his name as centuries of stolen life turned to ash. By dawn there was nothing left of Marishka, but gray dust scattered across the stones. No grave, no memory, only whispers in old castles that sometimes, when the wind is right, a woman's laughter still echoes where a vampire bride once lived. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into dark folklore, be sure to like and subscribe for more tales from the shadows.